Ding 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 ding.
Fubble Time.
Yay! Hello, my name is Teresa Tomey.
Hi, and I am Patrick Ziegler.
And we are
Bubble Entertainment.
And this is
Bubble Time.
I just always want
Why are you laughing?
Because I always want that to go just a little bit faster.
Then do it faster. Do you want to do it again?
No, it's all good. It's all good. Uh-oh, I'm in a swingy chair today. This could be a problem.
Is this a new chair? This is a new chair in your new digs.
This is an old chair in my new digs. I know. Fred was like, my husband was like, I can't believe you didn't talk about your new digs. I'm like, well, there was no furniture in it last time we did it, but now I do have furniture. So
slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely, it's coming together.
And it's very fun. Rick Carl's texting me right now, and I'm hearing the sound. One of our past guests. It's the 70th anniversary of I Love Lucy on Friday.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that cool?
Very
amazing.
Very
I just watched real quick. They do this thing where they do people that have never heard certain songs before. They did two young African American guys that were listening to like the Carpenters and heard that for the first time. There was a couple. He's Cuban and she's American Caucasian, and he had never seen I Love Lucy. And so they watched it together. It was so fun. It was so fun. Yeah.
Very fun.
But without further ado,
Kevin, we are working on getting Lucy Arnaz on Fubble Time. So
yeah,
she was supposed to do it.
She
wants to do it. So yes, Lucy is going to join us at some point. So fingers crossed we can make that happen. So
I'll tell her that our fans are waiting for her.
So. There you go. There you go. So let me, I got to stop swinging, introduce to you, I met this wonderful gentleman at the theater in Los Angeles. We sat next to each other and we just started chatting away and became friends, and he invited me onto his show. Now he's on our show. Patrick and he met in New York. He has had an amazing career that leaves Patrick and I both very excited. Let me share with you that he started at CBS as a page for shows like The Carol Burnett Show, Red Skelton, The Smothers Brothers. And
Shut up!
Linkletter's House Party. I know. Pinch, 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 pinch. Can you imagine what a career?
Yes.
Can you? I know. When Patrick and I were glued to our television sets like that, Stu was there working on those shows. He worked over 40 years at ABC Television in on-air promotion and marketing. Of course, we love that as well. He created and worked on many campaigns like Love in the Afternoon, which was the ABC daytime campaign for more than 25 years. He currently hosts a podcast called Stupified, and we're going to share some information on that in a bit. But we are so excited to have this fine, good human being with us. Please join us in welcoming Stuart Brower.
Hello, Stuart.
Hello,
Stu.
I have to say, I'm sure you did the music, no rights issues. You just went right in and did the music. Perfect.
We did.
Perfect. Very nice.
That's great coming from you. That's amazing coming from you. You give us a thumbs up on that?
Excellent.
We worked really hard.
You don't have to pay anybody. That's great. Yeah.
This is true. These are the things you know. Now, Emil, who's a guest or who's a watcher, said I actually visited Al Simon this morning.
He worked on I Love Lucy and worked on Andy Griffith.
Oh, okay. Because somebody had stuff is us because you mentioned the 70th. I gotcha. Okay. Well, Stu, how are you?
I'm okay.
You're here.
I'm here in New York, where everybody pretty much is masked up, and you have to have a vaccination proof to go pretty much anywhere. So nice. I feel pretty safe here. Not in Florida or Texas. So that's
and I got out of Florida. Interesting. I didn't know this. Emil says you probably know then, Stuart, Al Simon was president of Filmways. And all I can think of right now is this has been a Filmways presentation
Right.
of Beverly Hillbillies.
That was, I think, it used to be Screen Gems, or after it was Screen Gems. I don't remember all that, but yeah, that was all the great syndicated stuff.
Well, we have so many. I have so many things I want to ask you, and one of them is around the rights. But we'll get to that in a minute. And I want to start with what we always start with, and we ask our guests, when did you first remember getting bitten by the creative entertainment bug?
I remember this very clearly as a child, and not a very old child, 8, 9. All my friends, it used to be that all the cars came out in September, not now, like they just throw cars out anytime. But it used to be the motto years of all the cars was September. And all my friends were so interested in what the new Ford was going to look like, or what the new Chevys. That's also when the new TV shows came out in September. And I wasn't so much interested in what the shows were, although that was fun too, but what the advertising campaigns to introduce the shows were. And that was at a really young age. And it was quite a bit, I don't know why didn't figure this out, but it was quite a bit later that I figured out that there were people who did that. I don't know how I thought they got there. I mean, but it was really years later when I was talking to people about that. I mean, I was actually working in a pharmacy I was in high school as a, whatever you do when you're not a pharmacist in a pharmacy. And the woman,
kind of like in It's a Wonderful Life. That's what George Bailey works at a pharmacy.
Worked at a pharmacy. I mostly was just stocking all of the stuff that wasn't drug related. So the woman who was the second pharmacist had just graduated from college, and we were talking, and I said, what I want to do. She said, you could go learn that. I said, what? It was complete news to me that there were schools you could actually learn that stuff. So I was more interested than I was a good researcher about that stuff. But it was early on that I knew I wanted to do that. That's probably longer than you needed.
No, it's great. Where did you grow up?
Long Beach, California.
Oh, okay.
Just half an hour from Hollywood.
Yeah, to have that in your backyard and to not, I think about that because I used to watch like Carol Burnett and all those shows when I was a kid. And I never understood. I was like, you can have, that's called a career. Like I never made the connection that you could actually have a career in it, even though I was watching people have a career in it.
Yeah, but that at least you could actually see a physical person.
Yes.
It was like, well, there's a thing. You don't see anybody. How did that get on?
Making it, how they made it. So you went to school for marketing and advertising?
No. I went to school. My undergrad, I did a little bit in grad school. My undergrad was in journalism, which at that time was journalism. So it's about being truthful and honest and not spinning. Then my career was complete spinning. Nothing. I mean, we tried to be truthful. Many people were not so truthful. I always thought you can't just lie to the people. You have to try to be clever to get them to watch, but not lie. But it's clearly not what you would do when you're doing a news story, marketing or advertising. It's closer to what the news is now, actually, than what it was then.
It's funny. When we were kind of preparing questions for you today too, I was thinking, marketing is such a creative, like you have to use your creative brain for marketing, but there is a science to it. I mean, there's like a social science aspect to it, right? I mean, so do you consider because like you said, you have to figure out what's going to engage people, what's going to get them to watch, do you feel like you use both sides of your brain?
Yeah. Now though, it's way, for up until maybe, 5 years ago, there was really no social presence. Now social media is probably the most important part. The people they're all, I think, 18. When I left, all the people who worked in social media at ABC, I barely walking. but they were posting. And that's how they engaged the fans that way. And of course, you could really engage the fans because you're talking back and forth and you're seeing what they want. Ours, we had to do, and of course, it got a lot more sophisticated from when I started. We had, by the end, we had research as to what people were liking in the shows. So we at least could feature that in our marketing. For a long time, we thought, well, here's what we think people are liking in the show. And if the show didn't work, the assumption always was, well, you guys didn't have any idea what we should have been promoting. So the show was a failure. I remember really, you obviously know Aaron Spelling, who was just at ABC had at one time half the schedule were his shows. You know, Charlie's Angels and Fantasy Island, Love Boat, and all that, Starsky and all that. And so for a long time, they actually called it Aaron's Broadcasting Company. So he put on a comedy, an hour comedy, which was really awful. It was called the San Pedro Beach Bums. And it was like, I guess like the East Side Kids, which was this movie troupe in the 30s and 40s, kind of ragtag guys.
Yeah.
And so Fred Silverman was the head of ABC at that time. And he loved this show. And it was played adjacent to Monday Night Football, where pretty good. We'd had huge success with show. You know, MacGyver was a big deal there. And the Rookies, every show that was adjacent to Monday Night Football at least was pretty successful. This was a complete bomb, and he couldn't figure it out until finally the research came in much later then, that everybody hated the show, and there was nothing that anybody wanted to watch in this show. So, and Aaron was not the best at doing comedy. To my knowledge, he only did one other comedy, and it was really sad. It was Lucille Ball's last show,
Life with Lucy.
Oh, really?
Life with Lucy.
Oh.
And it was, I mean, to see an 82-year-old woman doing that physical stuff that clearly
75.
I'm sorry, I should be much more sensitive to that. But an older woman, not what she was when she was doing I Love Lucy and all those other shows in the 50s and 60s.
You know, it's interesting. I could have a whole story about this, but and this is kind of interesting because I just hit my computer. What you're saying, a lot of things weren't given any time because they realized very quickly, because she got carte blanche. They never needed to do a pilot. Correct. It was like go right to production. It was so late in the year too that any other writers other than her original writers, Bob and Madeline, were all taken already. And you know, she was told this is what the world wants. They want to see slapstick Lucy. And quickly they found out that the audience was not enjoying that anymore. So the scripts started changing. And they brought in Audrey Meadows as her sister. And it became kind of her foil. And the script started getting better. And unfortunately, back then, if you didn't have it, you know, the ratings, it was gone. And Aaron Spelling also ditched it, is my understanding.
Well, I mean, I don't know that behind the scenes, but it was clear that he had never, particularly with such high visibility of a show, such a big failure as this. Yeah. And so I think he wanted to distance himself as soon as he could when he saw it wasn't working.
So how did you, in your time, I mean, you worked on like broad campaigns, but you also worked on individual shows too, or did you?
Yeah, there used to be, and this probably stopped maybe in the mid 80s, big, enormous campaigns to kick off the fall. All the networks did, as well as the individual campaigns for every show. And they were really expensive. I mean, we would spend $2-3 million, which back then was real money.
Huge.
Well, now it's real money. But shooting and having music and shooting the
balloons
all over the place.
And, air balloons.
Yeah, we did balloons. The balloons was actually my idea.
Was it really?
Yeah, we shot that. This is really interesting. I wasn't a particular balloon fanatic, but I wanted to go. I thought it was a real thing that would be cool to see, is the balloon festival in Albuquerque. So I pitched this idea and that we had to do all the background in Albuquerque at the Balloon Festival. So I got to go.
I'm so curious on this because I posted it today. Still the one. So we're talking about, for people that are out there, it was a campaign from in the late 70s to early 80s, right? It ran for many.
77 and 78. Yeah.
So, and we talked when we met in New York at Teresa's show that I loved the flip of the rhyme that you had to say Shirley and Laverne.
Yeah, right. I actually, for most of the stuff during that era, when we did special lyrics, I wrote the special lyrics because I also fancied myself that why am I not on Broadway writing the show? But
so did you write
my real sweet spot was a minute to 90 seconds of lyrics. But yeah, I did that. I remember doing that specifically, Shirley and Laverne, on purpose, because I loved Cole Porter, who frequently did that with phrases that you were used to hearing one way and doing it backwards.
Sure.
So I did all the rhyming so that we could get to Shirley and Laverne instead of Laverne and Shirley.
Oh, that's so funny. So it wasn't you like you were trying to fix something. It was an intention.
Oh, no, it was on purpose.
Yeah, that's great.
We have a question from Kevin, who was actually a guest, and he's an artist. He says, in your time at ABC, who was the nicest celebrity you encountered? I love that he's asking.
This is a complete no-brainer, because this guy, there were obviously a lot of jerks, but we also had a lot of really nice people. John Ritter was a wonderful person.
Oh, yay.
But clearly, the most incredibly sweet, nice person was Henry Winkler. Just unbelievable.
Boy, he sure has that reputation still. Man, Marion talks about him. Just
yeah, he's they had a Happy Days softball team.
Yeah.
That we played against with our marketing softball. They really kicked our ass. We were terrible. but I got to see him in a more, social situation there. I worked with him actually more when he was the producer than when he was on Happy Days. He did.
He was a producer of MacGyver.
Was his show,
right?
And he had a show called Ryan's Four, which was like a hospital drama.
Oh.
And he's the only person in all the years I've worked in this. Many people call after the show premieres and said, "Thank you, really great job." He called before the show premiered and said, "Whatever happens, this was a great campaign." No one ever.
Oh my gosh. We met him. We met him in Grand Rapids, and he was really, really, because he's dyslexic and I'm dyslexic.
Yeah, so and now he's an author.
Yeah.
Children's books, but yeah.
Yeah. We have another question, if you don't mind, from Emil. Do you have a favorite Ernie Anderson interaction story?
Yeah, I have a lot of Ernie Anderson.
Who's Ernie Anderson?
For many, many, many years, he was the sole announcer for our promotions at ABC. He was the guy who was the love boat. He was that guy. And so I'll give a couple stories. One, in that vein, he really wanted, when we did the taxi promos, to do taxi, and we didn't want him to do that. We just wanted him to say taxi. And it's very hard to get him to switch whatever he wants to do. He finally did it, but we had to keep doing it. He would keep saying taxi, and we'd say, "We want taxi." We want... Also, he was, if you got to know him, he was, I think, a very sweet, nice guy. And obviously, I worked with him a long time, got to know him very well. Many people got to know him very well. But to a new producer who would come in, he was just merciless. You'd bring in your script to the session. First of all, he'd say, "Really? You think this is 15 seconds? This is a minute and a half." He'd bag you on that you wrote too much copy. Then,
yikes.
Then he'd read the copy, read it over before, and he'd put at the top, like he was a grade, GTOFB with an F. And of course, the person then would have to say, "What is GTOFB? Get out of the fucking business."
Oh.
So we had to prepare every producer. Well, here's what's going to happen. This is going to happen. This is going to happen multiple times till he gets to know you. and this is what it is. And if you can't handle that, you can't work here because that's what's going to happen.
Wow.
So
go ahead, Teresa.
No, just clearly, you do hear these stories about people with surly attitudes or, difficult to work with. And they do tolerate that in the industry. I mean,
Well, I think they don't now.
Do you think it's changed in the course of your career? Did you see it change?
Well, I don't ever remember, maybe I was just too oblivious, as any sexual harassment.
Right.
Ever. But there was a lot of abuse, other personal harassment.
Like verbal bullying and stuff like that?
Yeah, all verbal. I didn't see anybody get slammed up against the wall or anything.
Yeah.
But now I think they just won't tolerate that. I do have an interesting Ernie Anderson connection to Carol Burnett, who we're talking about. As you know, Tim Conway was there for years. Ernie Anderson was his best friend. They both came from Cleveland together. Ernie was a huge star in Cleveland. He was, I can't remember what it was. He hosted a horror movie show where he played the movies. I can't remember what he called himself. But anyway, he was, for a couple of years, the announcer after Lyle Wagner left. He did it. But mostly, he would come and sit in the audience every week, and they handed out bumper stickers to the audience. Who the hell is Ernie Anderson? And nobody ever said anything. The audience all went, I guess, put it on their cars, and the audience never asked. That for some reason, they just said, okay. And he was there. Nobody ever introduced him. I think sometimes Carol introduced him, but didn't say who he was. Ladies and gentlemen, Ernie Anderson. He stands up. Everybody applauded, and nobody had really any idea who he was. But that's fun. He and Carol were very close, and he and Tim were very close.
So
Emil says it was Goulardi.
Goulardi, that's exactly right. Goulardi. I think it might have been Ghoul. I think that's how he spelled it. But maybe not.
Like a ghoul.
Like a ghoul. But that's exactly right. Goulardi.
And somebody.
And then, Timeless Nothing. Howdy. Love Tim Conway. We all love Tim Conway. We got to meet him at a restaurant in LA, and he was wonderful. The
reason they always laughed at him when he was doing, particularly Harvey, they would have the dress rehearsal, and he never did, anytime he did anything, he never did it the same way twice. So he would do the dress rehearsal, and he'd do whatever he did. And then at the show, they were all seeing it for the first time. He'd never done whatever it was.
Yeah. What?
I mean, the sketch where he stabs, but he was the dentist, and he stabs himself with the Novocaine. Yeah. That was supposed to be way, way shorter than that. But he really, I mean, people couldn't, everybody was laughing. Harvey was supposed to be under and was laughing. You just couldn't avoid it.
That was going to be my question, if you don't mind, Teresa, real quick. I just want to, and you might be asking the same thing, is were you at, being a Page, were you at some of the most iconic scenes, like the dentist or the Gone with the Wind?
At Carol's show, I was the head Page for I guess a year and a half. So I was on the stage leading the applause. So I was really right there where they were shooting. And that, I would say, every one of the live shows that I worked on, not live shows, but, tape comedies, all had a different way of doing things. Carol was the most meticulous. They did the dress rehearsal at 4:15, the air show at 7:30, and the hour and a half for the hour, all done.
Wow.
The Smothers brothers shot on the same night. They would start at 4:15 and not be done by the morning. They'd have to send the audience home. It was that was a real mess. And Red Skelton, if anybody remembers Red Skelton.
Yes.
He actually did it like a Broadway show. You would come in, the orchestra would play an overture. He would hand out programs like you were going to a Broadway show. And most people did the dress rehearsal and the air show, one in the afternoon, one at night. He did his Monday and Tuesday. He did Monday, taped it. He listened to the audio tape as they drove him home to Palm Springs, and he made whatever changes he wanted to make. And then Tuesday, they did it, had all that time to fix it as opposed to half an hour or whatever anybody else had.
Wow.
The best thing to watch, I'm sorry to keep going on like
No.
The best thing to watch was the rehearsal on the first day of the Red Skelton show, the first day of the week. They always had a full audience of people in the building because it was so filthy. You just can't even imagine how dirty it was. So everybody was like, well, we want to, and the guests would all get into it. And a lot of the guests were mostly his age, kind of, but that was amazing. And, the censors didn't even come to that because they knew that you can't say anything there. He's going to, whatever's in the script, he's going to have to do. So.
I love that Rebecca Donald just went, please go on, when you said that they're one of our listeners.
Usually I have, please go off. So
No,
this is very good. Okay.
I think she's saying, please go on. We're enjoying this so much. I have like 20 things to ask you, but I have good friends that were pages for CBS as well during the 90s, and they went on to one was head of programming for ABC. One's an executive producer out of Chicago, and another one.
Well, Andy Kubitz, I know, worked
there.
He's
my friend.
He's had a schedule, but one of my very good friends. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, how wonderful. Yeah. Andy, we all used to hang out. They were all pages. Andy and Matt Luth. Do you know Matt Luth?
No.
By chance? He writes commercials and stuff for Fox.
I want to know how you, so you got into the business through the Page program.
Correct.
Is that you got into the business through the Page program, and then you went, wait, I want to, like, how did you get out?
No, I knew what I wanted to do. And at that time, I'd gotten out of grad school. So this was like 1970, 71. So I thought, well, the only place you could work is CBS because that's the best place. So why would you not want to work at the best place? So, and I'm from California. So I come back, I have my master's, and I go to the personnel office or whatever it is at CBS. And I say, so I'd like to work in the promotion department. And the lady says, okay, well, that's not happening. So you could try to see if you could be on our Page staff. And I say, I really don't want to be on here. They said, well, here's the deal. We have 2 openings. We're interviewing 32 people.
Wow.
Oh my.
But for the Page staff, you're interviewing. I mean, it was just floored that anybody, and I guess you just knew that's what you did to try to get in. And so I got in. She said, you're really lucky. I said, I have a master's degree. I'm not an idiot. So, and then so you kind of, while you're there, you kind of hang out with the departments you want to work in. So
you got into the Page program. You were getting exposed to all of the production side of things.
Well, we did. Yeah, we had that. And we also gave tours to the public, which was so fascinating. I don't know if I should say this. This might not still happen. So you take tours, and some of the guys would just make stuff up. You'd go to a studio, see all up there, that's 100,000 lights. And nobody, well, that doesn't look like 100,000 lights. So, and people, nobody knows. They're from wherever they're from. I at least tried to have the tour be honest. So,
oh my gosh.
Could you take
wow.
Found a lot of interesting people there. One of my friends who was our Page then went on to be a big writer. He wrote for Barney Miller and Night Court, MASH.
Very cool.
Then other people disappeared, I guess.
Kevin asked, did you know William Paley at all?
I would say no is a strong word. I had met him. He of course was amazing, and mostly in New York. We were at TV City, but yeah, I had met him, I guess, just once. I met several people throughout this who were incredibly impressive. During the time Capital Cities owned ABC, because Warren Buffett was a big investor. He would speak at every one of our affiliates meeting every year.
Oh, wow.
And
Oh,
to
wow.
just hear Warren Buffett talk about anything
Yeah.
is amazing.
So how did you end up getting over to ABC? And when you worked in the marketing, that you did daytime and prime time?
Well, I was in promotion at CBS first.
Okay.
And what happened is I got hired. It was a tiny department because the way it worked was we didn't do things. We did things that would run for weeks. We didn't do weekly topicals like that. So I got hired, and within the first 2 weeks, the 3 top people all left.
Mm-hmm.
So instantly now I'm the number 2 guy in the department. I've been there 5 minutes.
Oh my God.
I ended up doing lots of stuff that I wouldn't normally have done.
That's great. But then you ended up
of being at the right place at the right time, I think.
So, but then you did get over. So how long were you at CBS before you went over to ABC?
I was in the CBS promotion department maybe a year, maybe not quite a year.
Oh, not that long.
And then one of the guys went to ABC. One of our guys who was there had gone to ABC, and they had an opening there. And he said, "Well, you should apply. You're better than a lot of these guys." So I got a job at ABC. Yeah.
And your actual jobs, like, talk about what was your work day like? So you were producing things, you were writing some stuff. Like what's a day in the life of you?
It was then is we were a writer producer. So you would write the script and then produce it. Most of it was you would take the footage that was shot for the episodes and use that. And we had a graphics department, obviously, who did our graphics. And then when we had special things like the fall campaign, that was a big elaborate shoot. We'd hire production companies and we'd have the talent all over the place doing all kinds of stuff. Every network then tried to outdo the other networks. So
yeah.
I mean, if you watched any of that during those years in the fall, everybody was more spectacular than everybody else.
But don't
and the TV guide was this thick too.
Yeah. And we're a little biased here, and we'll be biased on your behalf. Don't you think ABC had the best campaigns?
I think some years we did, yeah. I think Still the One was really a good campaign.
Still the One is, yeah.
And won lots of awards and all of that. People now, it's really interesting. Friends of mine who I didn't know then, somehow everybody's going on YouTube all the time to find this stuff. I don't know how much time everybody has to go on YouTube. And they'll see it and they say, "Did you work on that?" And they're just amazed. First of all, they know I'm old. I don't think they think I'm that old. And then to hear that I did work on that and, write the lyrics, they're just blown away. First of all, I think initially they think I'm lying. But then when I convince them that it's true, they're just blown away that it's lasted. People still watch that stuff. We could still, if there was time to run it and enough audience levels now to make it work, you could still do stuff like that. I think the audience would respond to that because it's so different than what they're seeing.
Yeah.
But the audiences of TV now are so small.
It's so
a few years ago, we're friends with Sean Hayes from Will and Grace, and in between the two versions of Will and Grace, he had his own show on NBC that didn't go forward. Sean Saves the World. That year, also Michael J. Fox came back in a new series, and somebody else. Well, they did kind of one of those long promos, and it was really interesting to see them bring that back.
Yeah, it's NBC did great campaigns as well. I mean, they were the one. It was not a big elaborate campaign like that, but must see TV.
Must see
TV.
Pretty good.
They owned the 90s, yeah.
At NBC who all say they developed that themselves.
Well, Stu, this has been so great. We've got about 5 more minutes.
No. I
know.
Questions. Stop it.
Go.
No. Oh. Are you still friends with all? Do you still have colleagues that you connect with and stuff?
Absolutely. Like that? Yeah.
And are any of them still working?
Pardon me?
Are any of them still working And
Some.
yeah.
Yeah, some. It's we're old now. And so first of all, it's really a business not primarily where they hire older people.
Yeah.
Like every business.
Yeah.
But particularly if you're a writer who can get hired. I have several writers who they go to the network and say, I worked on this and this and this. And the person they're interviewing with is 26, never even heard of those shows.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for them to get work.
Yeah, it's a different world. Yes, we've met with those children before.
And not that they're not smart, although
lovely people, just young. Patrick, we were in a meeting with William Morris Endeavor once, and the guy that we were meeting with was like, just a second, I have to go deal with this or whatever, and he left the room. And Patrick goes, I think he's going to call his parents to see what time they're going to come pick him up.
Yeah, that's
so young.
He looked all of 14, and then he became head of comedy for NBC, and and
crazy. I want to ask Stu before we do wrap up. I want to ask you.
Happy to do part 2, by the way, if there's ever a hole in the schedule.
Well, I think we've got so many people saying, please keep going. Love your feedback. Love what you're sharing. Love all this. So we're getting some nice feedback as we go through this. But please do tell us about your podcast. So you have a podcast called Stupified. Best name ever. My
friends convinced me to do this. It's getting better. We've done over 100 episodes. And we sometimes it's an interview thing, like we did with Teresa. It's called Stupified because it's kind of a play on my name, and it's as close to being about nothing, the way Seinfeld was about nothing. Now I do a dive every week. And that sounds more like NPR, but every week into a thing like Guinness World Book Records, or strange names of U.S. cities, or foods that came from places you didn't think they came from. So it's somewhat of a way to have, if anybody listens, and I think we have what could be determined a minuscule listening base.
Nice.
But it's not political or serious. It's a kind of a respite for whoever.
Nice. I took your quiz. I listened to the quiz the other day.
We do a lot of quizzes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The most recent quiz, I listened to that. I did pretty good. I was proud of myself.
Yeah. My Charlie, who I do it with, usually does pretty bad.
Yeah. I got a few right that he didn't get. So I was like, I was thinking I've got to get my husband to listen to it too. So anyway, it's a great.
And I put it in the comment link so people can click right over, and then we also have it here as a banner.
Most of my friends use it 2 ways. One, while they're walking their dog, it seems to be very good, and also if you have trouble sleeping, very good then.
Well, I have, like Teresa said, we could go on and on and on with so many things about this. What? Ask the last question, Teresa.
Oh, I don't have. I have so abandoned the questions because we're so all over the place. I guess I don't. I guess the last question he already answered. Go ahead.
Well, mine is just: is there anything else that, other than the podcast, that you would like to put your toe in? Get involved in?
Yeah, it would be. I haven't really pursued this, but I think it would be interesting to do. I guess the closest thing to what you'd call it is consulting, where you don't have to come to work all the time. You could do a thing and then you're done. I tried that right when I first retired with a guy who had a company who did local advertising. And he said, well, this shouldn't be very hard. I said, no, I don't think it'll be very hard. So the first client was a furniture store in Sacramento. And so I thought, well, and they gave me all the points that the guy is business. And so I've been used to getting all kinds of notes from network executives and producers. So I did several scripts, the guy I was working for, the company who hired me, said, "Yeah, this seems okay," but then started to come the notes from the guy who owned the furniture store.
Oh
and I said, "Well,
no.
I'm out. I'm not doing this." The guy who sells sofas said, "Tell me why this doesn't work."
After 40 years.
Notes from the net. Well, one last thing. Oh shoot. When you were working on the Carol Burnett Show, had you known about her like from the other show that she was on?
I'd
previously
known about her from
with
Broadway. I
Okay.
saw her on the Gary Moore show.
Gary Moore. That's what I was trying to think
Yeah. And then to put that full circle, she did a pilot for ABC. Maybe, well, I was still there, so it would have been maybe 5 years ago. A sitcom.
of. Oh yeah, with Amy Poehler, right?
I don't.
Wasn't she producing that?
She was, I think, one of the producers, and ABC passed on it, which is we all thought, well, how are you passing on Carol? Because it actually wasn't very good. The supporting cast was not great. Mostly, some were okay. And we thought, well, all they have to do is recast this, and this is the writing was so everything should be okay. And I think Carol didn't want to recast it. She liked those people and didn't maybe want to shoot it again. So it never went forward. It was an interesting idea, I think, for a show.
Yeah, I remember reading about it.
I'm going to ask you the last question.
Well, you've had 15 last questions.
I know. It's interesting. It's me. You're killing me.
Interesting.
Kevin asked, I'll let Kevin ask the last question.
TV used to be free. How do you feel about it costing money now? Amazon, Netflix, Hulu.
Well, I, of course, have subscriptions to Amazon, Netflix, and Hulu. I barely watch network television anymore because the shows, because they have so much more money, are for the most part better, and they don't have to do so many of them. There are TV shows I watch, network shows that I think are great. Shark Tank, I think, not only for the show but for the social good it does, is a fabulous show.
Yeah.
And I watch a lot of the news on TV and, of course, sports. But it isn't. I don't love that it costs so much for people to have to pay for television. But if you didn't pay, you wouldn't get, the quality that you get. I mean, you pay for HBO and Showtime too, and
right.
That's why they're better quality. Yeah, I would love for the networks to be able to do shows like they use, like Playhouse 90, which even predates me.
Yes.
It was a 90-minute drama every week.
Yeah.
Amazing live. If they could do that, it'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get some of it is overproduced. I mean, it's hard. The technology gives you advantages and disadvantages.
But now you look at the ratings for network television, with the possible exception of football.
Yeah.
They're 0.5, 0.6. These are shows that would be canceled while they were on.
Right. Right.
And they run for years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's a whole new world out there. Stu Brower. Oh my gosh. It's so good to see your face.
Nice to see you.
Even if it's from far away and little tiny screens, it's still great to see you. I'm so glad you joined us for this.
I really feel privileged to be on this. This is really, really nice.
Oh my gosh. I was just thinking, this is free. So Kevin, you got to tune into our show for free tonight. And Kevin tunes in every week that we do it. He's so wonderful. And thanks to everybody, but really, Stuart, it is really an honor to be able to interview somebody like you that has such a career in the business that Teresa and I love and grew up in and continue to work in and continue to pitch, do as well.
Yeah.
I told you when I met you, it's like I've met people all throughout, all in the business. And then when I met you and you told me you did the Still the One campaign, I think you're one of the few people that gave me goosebumps. I was like,
she texted me. She's like, "You're not going to believe who I met."
Yes. Well, most people don't tell people. So that,
Yeah. I fangirl.
Now it's like so historical that people don't exactly even remember it. They just remember, well, it seemed to be good. I don't know if you looked at it now if it would really be that good, but
Of course.
It
Of course
is.
it would.
I posted it on my Facebook page. So for
Thank
our
you.
Facebook page too.
We don't get money for this. It's
Yeah.
not like anything. But okay, thank you.
Thank
you, Stuart.
Bye, guys. Nice to talk to you.
Bye.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.
Oh my gosh, what a riot. Love him. Love everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week with some more behind the scenes
Of the industry.
television, making the industry. So thank you so much for joining us. And as we say every week,
Gotta go.
gotta go.